Good day and welcome to a brand new edition of this absolutely fantastic podcast that we've begun at Tradepass. This is the Tradepass podcast. Let's talk tech, episode 2 with Kanishk. And I'm going to hold my breath for his second name, Upadhyay. Did I get it right, Kanishk?
Good job.
All right. Well, I can definitely see the humor's working as well. Well, it's going to be a sparkling show, and he is the executive vice president of Techcombank, and he joins us today. Well, Kanish, thanks so much for joining us. Can you give us a big hello all the way from Vietnam?
Hey, hi guys.
Is there a special way you say hello in Vietnamese?
Xin chào.
Tin Chao. Okay, all right, Tin Chao, everybody. Thanks once again, Kanishk, for joining us. You're part of a core team that's delivered 1 billion plus in profit, 21% in terms of ROE, upwards of that, and crossed 10 million retail customers. What has been the best part of being the EVP of this bank and doing fantastically well for yourself?
Extremely exciting. I mean, being in this market, and I would love to take a lot of credit, but in reality, the institution itself, the way it is built, and the way the market is young, digitally native, excitingly adopting things that we roll out. As a product owner, it is so heartening to see the adoption that comes from customers because that's who you are doing it for. And of course, at Techcombank, the way we think about the future, our vision, our strategy to be the best and to bring the best to our customers and to see customers adopt that and wholeheartedly respond. And then, of course, the numbers are an end product. They are a lagging indicator of the successful relationship between an institution and its customer.
Kanish, before we start this podcast, you're on episode 2. Since you are, originally from Kashmir and I'm from Kanyakumari, do you think this is like a meeting of the two worlds? And then, of course, you've traveled all across the world. Do you feel good about that?
I think most people don't realize, on a personal note, and I try to do that when I'm in ASEAN, is that India as a country is perhaps bigger than the ASEAN region, and in a way is a continent of sorts. The difference between somebody from Chennai and somebody from Kashmir is as good as me being from the Middle East and you being from Japan, and that's the diversity that we have in the country, and but equally that's the diversity I've been enjoying in my various stints in Southeast Asia. And I've come to realize that while there's a lot of differences, at the heart of it, people are very similar. And that's the real truth.
Fantastic. Now you have 20 plus years of experience successfully running businesses in retail, banking, and sales across strategy planning, payments, digital transformation. 20 years, it's absolutely versatile experience that you bring to the table. The question here is especially with respect to profitability of your team and this sort of experience. And then you have the whole Gen Z who's also come in. How do you bring all these 20 years to the table and how do you absolutely smack it with a right punch in the gut?
So first of all, you make me sound really old by with that 20 plus years. I am a millennial, so we were still the most talked about generation. But it's good to see millennials like myself getting the work done because otherwise most of the articles are of a very different nature about millennials. But yes, I think that's very important to segue to what I was about to say. Being a millennial, I'm kind of in today's world the in between generation, right? We have our CXOs and CEOs who are probably solidly Gen X now, and then we have the younger Gen Ys and Gen Zs coming in into the workforce and becoming a large part of the workforce. So being the in between guy, there's a lot of buffering and a lot of transponder work that people like me have to do as we take in the ideas of our visionary CXOs, but also blend it with the working population who may have different ideas about life. And but I must say it is a very enriching experience to be that middle person and to be that translator and moderator of the work culture and be able to blend with both and succeed together.
I love it. I mean, I'm millennial as well, so 13 plus at this point in time. So I guess that cross straddling of sort of experience that you bring in, I think it goes extremely well with your salt and pepper as well. So yeah, I can see that.
Thank you.
All right, next up, now you've developed a very comprehensive payment strategy to make your current organization the clear leader in payments. Now, what does it take, honestly, to be the leader in the payment space, especially in the country that you're in Vietnam, which is where we're coming with WFIS Vietnam? How big and exciting is the payment space in Vietnam at this point? Like, how bustling and full of energy is it?
What does it take? Truthfully, lots. Lots. Payments is such a fast evolving space, moving so fast that features, offerings, journeys keep coming out and keep changing and keep evolving. Customer demands keep improving, technology keeps changing. So it's a constant race, or a constant evolution to stay, to get on top and then to stay on top. And that's what it takes. So there is everything that goes from the very big projects like building a new mobile banking app or building payment solutions, having a absolutely perfect suite of products, to small things like every week realizing customer feedback on how they are using a particular button or a particular feature, and then going through the CX experience, getting feedback, improving, testing, relaunching, seeing how it works. And but it's very exciting work because customers are responding to what you are doing, right? And today, when we look at ourselves and when we look at the country, the kind of numbers that we have, which clearly put us in the number one category, that's what we are doing it for. That's the excitement that comes back. But it's constant work, but exciting work. It's stress, but positive stress.
Is there any sport that you follow where, I follow cricket and I see, when you have like a Kohli or a Dhoni on the top, especially in the cricketing world, you have that drive to be number one. Sometimes it's aggression, sometimes it's cute aggression. In your case, what do you think it is?
I think definitely there is passion first. Always there must be passion. You must enjoy what you're doing, you must love what you're doing, and then when you reach number one, there is this constant spotlight on you which you start loving. It's a warm spotlight that you don't want to let go as well, right? So there is pressure, there is stress to remain number one, to keep innovating, but most importantly to be able to serve your customers, to because that feedback that you get, whether it's a net promoter score or a CSAT score, that's what you are really here for. That's who you are working for. Never forget that, right? So there is passion to innovate, and there is customer feedback, and I think those are the two pillars which lead to success.
Absolutely. Well, I really like that. And I'm taking it off a little bit, from your work and asking you about your angel investor career, or, like that entire domain of passion that you've indulged in. Now, you have been with more than 10 startups across edtech, hyperlocal logistics, micro savings for the masses, mentoring people, and so much more. How do you pick a company to back? Anybody who's watching this, any young person out there, Gen Z, Gen Y, millennial, how do they know that this is what my startup pitch needs to look like? Because quite literally, the world is a startup, environment at this point in time.
Very true, very true. And I first of all, I'm very happy that the startup world, or has kind of evolved from just usage and customer numbers to be more profit focused, return focused. I think there was this big slew of cash burn environment, which is kind of over, and I'm very happy for that, because I come from a very a background where I believe that something should be sustainable. And number one, number two, there should be a problem to solve. Don't just do it for fun. There should be a problem. There should be a need for a customer that you are trying to solve. If that is true, you will succeed. Even if you get something wrong initially, you can improve and improve, because you are really solving a genuine problem. That's what I look at when I look at a startup. That whether they are able to solve a problem or a need, or fill a gap in the market, right? I think that's very, very important. Two, sustainable, should be sustainable, shouldn't be growing just because of its cash burn. But really, finally, I think it comes down to the founder. It comes down to that person, his passion, his drive, and his ability to lead. I do a pre-analysis. I look at the financials. I look at many objective factors, but always the final answer comes from the man or the woman behind the startup, driving it, pulling it, and pushing it. I think it's a good combination of objective but subjective factors.
All right, so Kanishk, in terms of all the versatile markets that you have maneuvered, you've been in India, you've been in Vietnam, which is where you're right now, Singapore, Malaysia. How exciting is APAC as a market overall for you? And especially Vietnam, why is the buzz all out there?
It's exhilarating. I came to Vietnam first almost 14 years ago, and it was a absolute sea change. Such a digitally native generation, and especially in terms of banking, they adopted banking a little late, which was wonderful because they skipped some of the stuff that we thought was essential, like checkbooks and clearing houses. It almost felt like none of that was required. And I remember, in fact, if I can share a small example story with you, it was one of those late Saturday nights when we do a release in online banking, and we released a particular feature, and we were a very small bank back then, so I was a little less confident of how it would work. So we didn't advertise it; we just rolled it out, and we thought we'd let it stay stable for a few days before we start marketing it. By Wednesday the following week, a few hundred customers had already found the feature, used the feature, made it part of their everyday life. And it was just wonderful to see how customers were craving for digital conveniences, because in their mind that was the only way to move forward. And then when an organization or a bank released something, the adoption rate would be so high even without pushing it, the natural pull. And that's when I learned that success had to come digitally, and we had to move in that direction. And digital banks or digital banking, which was not very popular or a fad yet, was the way to go. And I became a early adopter of that all the way till now.
It's very surprising how you say that you've been a millennial at the forefront and still you rolled out something and it went so fascinatingly well for you. I think it's a great time to be alive for a millennial or a Gen Z because everything is seeming to be happening right now. And in Vietnam, even more so because 91.3 million smartphone subscribers. So even though the adoption was late, it's come in with a bang. Vietnam is now more tech savvy than ever. So tell us, how important is this massive number to the mobile payment space in Vietnam, and how exciting is it to be part of this entire chain of things that's going on?
No, it's an amazing experience. How you have to build and think differently for a mobile first generation. As a matter of fact, when we rolled out our new mobile banking application, we for a few months debated whether we should even roll out the normal online banking version or not, because people just want to be on the mobile, and they want to bank on the mobile or any other service on the mobile. The Forget physical banking, even online banking has taken a back step, right? We have companies which are mobile only, not just digital only, but just one form factor, and that's what the consumers are demanding. And as you very rightly said, they've skipped the landline generation. Doesn't exist. They've directly adopted mobile phones, of which most people carry two these days. And in terms of a small statistic, two-thirds of our online or mobile banking users are iPhone users, so which is considered a premium product. But for being equipped appropriately, the average Vietnamese prefers the best mobile device. And we serve that customer, so we think like that customer and always be mobile first in our thought process in our product launches.
That's fantastic. Being mobile first seems to be the mantra across all verticals, but more so in the financial innovation space. Now, you have been lead, in terms of creation of so many new concepts in the banking space. And I've been doing a lot of research here. So, whether it's the new digital bank or open banking or embedded finance, bringing together industry players, technology partners all together, how much of a role does technology increasingly play in financial innovation today, globally, in Vietnam, both of it in two tiers? And how have you, in layman's terms, helped to drive these multiple large implementations?
Look, I think it goes without saying that technology is at the root of all this, right? The innovations that have come about, how technology keeps advancing and providing us the tools or the capability to do things we couldn't even do 3 years back, 4 years back. It's that fast that we are able to catch up to what we want to do. But I would rather take you to a slightly different route and say, you know, what is the real reason for success? It's
Mm-hmm.
collaboration. It's absolutely collaboration. There are different people doing different things. There are small fintech players creating nifty small solutions which are wonderful but not scalable. And then you have banks which are scalable but may not have those cutting edge small tools, or you know, all these things. When all of this comes together is when success happens. So it's not one against the other, but everybody together to serve the customer. You bring what a bank does best, you bring what a fintech does best, you combine it, and you have the perfect solution to what a customer really needs. So if I were to answer the question, what is the reason for success, especially in the digital innovation world, I would say the reasons are three: collaboration, collaboration, collaboration.
I love that. It's like life is about either the common man mostly or about collaboration internationally work wise. Collaboration, collaboration, and collaboration all coming together and culminating in Hanoi in Vietnam, April 2023. It's the World Financial Innovation Series. We are super excited at Tradepass to come in. How excited are you? What are your expectations at an event at such a grand and massive scale as this?
As I said, I'm super excited in the post-COVID world to be going to a physical conference. It was something that we took for granted a few years ago, regularly attending conferences, speaking at conferences. But then in the last couple of years, it was always on a mobile phone video screen. So finally being able to let ourselves loose in physical presence and have that connection, human connection at the conference. The content remains what it is. The ideas remain what they are, but somehow they get enhanced when you are able to sit face to face across each other and be able to engage in dialogue with industry leaders. There's a freer flow of information when it's not cut and dried by a mobile screen.
Absolutely. I mean, we are sitting like this today, and on the 4th or 5th of April, 2023, both those days we're going to be there. So it always is, connection first, human connection across all my interviews. This is something that I'm seeing all speakers excited about wherever we are going in APAC or Africa or wherever. But next up, since you are very, very, upward and forward in the banking space. My question here is, you have attained leadership in like payments, mortgages, fintech, open banking. These are terms that we've constantly heard as buzzwords. But I think anybody who is in financial innovation in general wants to know, what is the new buzzword for 2023 in the space of financial innovation? What would it be?
I think a lot of the buzzwords continue because they become buzzwords first, and then you have to execute them. So they don't die so soon. I definitely think that embedded finance is the future in a lot of ways. These are my personal thoughts. Very often we try to predict and we get it wrong, but I really feel that coming out of my previous theme of collaboration, the industry is going to take collaboration to the next level, which is to actually get into an embedded finance relationship where we are able to pipe banking as a service to any brand, any loyalty, any ecosystem, so that the customer doesn't need to walk all the way to the bank, but rather the bank or a payment service or any other need is available to him in whichever system he is. He's using a messaging app and he's able to bank right in the middle of that. Or he's doing his shopping on an e-commerce and he's able to bank in the middle of that. And I feel that if I had to put a buzzword for 2023 onwards, it would be embedded finance.
On the tail of that, just like a journalist would ask you, because you said embedded finance is the buzzword, tell us if there's one tip in terms of digital transformation, because the world is going digital. I mean, every vertical you look at, that's where they're going. So, in banking, what is the top one digital transformation trend that people are going to look at? Is it embedded finance, and that's where you want to see it, or is it going to be something completely different?
I do believe that it is going to be embedded finance, in my opinion. And I don't think the world is going into digital transformation. I think the world has gone into digital
Again.
transformation and transformed already. So I think that we are well into it, and not only from pushing, but customers pulling, adopting. It's all done. It's become native. even for the older generation and definitely for the younger generation. But I do feel that currently it's a direct relationship with the customer and the bank. I think that will continue. Banks will continue to be trusted advisors and be the confidence providers to the entire financial system. But I do feel that embedded finance will allow banking to reach further into consumers' lives in a very transparent way, where they are able to use it without overtly going into a bank itself.
Fantastic. 5 years ago, maybe a couple of years ago, we wouldn't have been able to think that I can transfer money from my mobile, directly to somebody across the world. Today, it's happening. 5 years down, is there one trend that you see in banking that nobody is currently thinking of? And it's like, poof. Do you have something like that?
इतना आगे का नहीं सोचा मैंने. But no, because I'm personally a big fan of executor rather than just high level visions. And I feel that if you have an open banking or an embedded bank, then that's going to take, actually, we're talking now, but despite best efforts, it's going to take years to come true, right? So the magic would be that 5 years down the line, the word is still embedded finance, but the way it's delivered, it'll probably have a different form factor altogether, right? If you and I are chatting, and I'm using my old example on WhatsApp, and I say, hey, you owed me $100, you forgot, you will type in WhatsApp saying, I want to pay Kanishk $100, and that will come true. And that power, and that's the use factor of something that I spoke about today, will come true 5 years later, but it probably will be called something else. And because it'll become almost invisible. You won't have to go banking. You will just want to do something, it'll get done. And banking will be behind it, making sure it happens.
Which brings us to the final question. Everything is going to be as seamless as possible because of, people like you working across the board. And that's exactly what we're going to find out about how financial innovation and fintech is at its best in Vietnam when we're at WFI's Vietnam 4th, 5th April 2023. Your final shout out is a little twist to this entire podcast. I'm going to ask you, for everybody who wants to put Vietnam on the bucket list, along with WFI's Vietnam, which is coming in April, top three things in Vietnam to look forward to, because you look like a man of the world and you look like somebody who can totally give us the top three picks and recommends from Vietnam that everybody across the world, whoever's watching this or listening to this, can explore.
Well, you're all coming to Hanoi. Vietnam is a large country, so I wouldn't say the top three things in Vietnam. Just like it would be silly to say the top three things in India, where it's practically a continent. Top three things in Hanoi. First, best season to come is now. It's spring season. The trees are blossoming with flowers. The weather is great, so welcome. What should you do? Definitely try the pho, try the bun cha. You can't get better food here anywhere else than in Hanoi. Take a quick trip to Halong Bay, which is a UNESCO heritage site, but just beautiful and spectacular. Kick back in the old quarters, the French old quarters, which give you a feel of the old and the new all together. Watch the water puppet show, which is something very unique locally and culturally. And just walk about and soak in the people, the food, the culture, and the air put all together. And that would make a fun short trip.
Fantastic. So, whether it's financial innovation or the food or the absolute magic of Vietnam, Hanoi is the place to be. And it's all happening on the 4th and 5th of April. Before we go, your final shout out. Kanishk, I've had such a fantastic time talking to you, because even though you're the EVP of a fantastic bank like Techcombank, there's so much of a multifaceted sort of a personality that you bring to the table. So it's been an absolute joy and pleasure. So what's your shout out to anybody, any age, any generation watching this? If they got to pick up and if they got to succeed like you, and if they got to become a Kanishk in, how many ever years, what is the one tip? Are you going to give us your life motto?
My God, that's a lot of pressure. But I guess keep at it. Keep at it. It doesn't matter what you are, which industry you are in, what you are doing. Keep learning and keep doing. Keep learning and keep doing. Make friends. They are for life. Work
That
friends,
is
home friends, period.
That's fantastic. I've made a friend in you, and I love it that you're on EP2 of Let's Talk Tech. I've learned so much, and I've had so much of fun. And I hope that I can use this podcast to inveigle my way into a ticket to Hanoi. That's what I'm going to do. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, Kanish.
Xin chào.
Chin Chow. Thank you very much.